All right, let's talk about Mother, or as the title of the movie says, Mother! This is a very, very hard film to review. Mostly because, for one, it's pretty much impossible to talk about without spoilers. And that's mostly because there is no plot to this film. Now, I made the mistake of watching a few reviews on this movie, which I try not to do all that much, but I don't know. I just watched a couple, and they definitely made it in to be a little bit different than it was. So my expectations of the film were definitely different. I was expecting this film to be much more bizarre than it was. And I think that anyone sees this movie will be like, what the fuck? You wanted it to be more bizarre? Now, for a theater film, I think that this is very bizarre for a wide release theater film. But I've watched a lot of fucking weird movies in my life. Movies that make zero sense. I think they're trying to say something, but who the fuck knows? And, you know, I had read or listened to or whatever, people saying like, oh, this movie has, you know, could have a billion different interpretations. And whilst I agree, because I think anything can have a billion interpretations, I personally think that the message is fairly clear. There are things that are debatable. In fact, all of it's debatable, clearly. But so I'm going to talk on that. Before I do, though, I would not suggest this movie to many people. I would only suggest this movie to people who like more symbolistic and metaphorical type films without plot lines or, you know, cohesive narratives. Now, the film isn't just randomly throwing things at you for no reason, you know. It's not like that. It does have a linear narrative to it. It's just very bizarre. I mean, it is. It's not ridiculously bizarre, but it's bizarre. So if that's not your kind of thing, don't go in expecting, you know, normal characters with a goal in mind, or you know, bad guy, a villain, and nothing like that. Now I'm going to talk about the film itself. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to see it, shut it off. This is just my interpretation of what I saw. I could be completely wrong, but anyway. So I think that Jennifer Lawrence's character represents Mother Earth. The house in which she lives in is Earth itself. She is the protector of it, or, you know, the master of it, or whatever you want to call it. Javier Bardem is God, basically. And Ed Harris, Michelle Pfeiffer are Adam and Eve. Their two sons are Cain and Abel. The uninvited guests are humans, people, and it, you know, obviously when the Cain and Abel, the brothers kill, you know, one brother kills the other one, that blood that hits the ground is basically like the first bloodshed. It's, you know, it's the tainting of the earth. It's what sparks it all. And what Javier Bardem is writing is either the Ten Commandments or the Bible. Whichever way you want to look at that. And they obviously worship his work, and they, you know, they try to worship it for good, but they end up destroying everything. We also see references to the 7 plagues with the frog that comes out of that little cellar room. You know, I just, obviously this is a movie that was written by a man. I mean, Darren Aronofsky wrote this movie in supposedly 5 days. It was just kind of burning out of him, and so he obviously is very unhappy with the state of affairs in this world, and I can't blame him. I think that's why I enjoyed this movie. I'm not usually a huge fan of, pure metaphorical films that don't have like a structured narrative, a first, second, and third act. I like when stories are told well and proper. Like, one of the reasons, I'm not going to try to get religious. I mean, it's hard to not talk about this and not get religious, but one of the reasons that I am not super into religion is because the story is up for too many interpretations, and there's too many people fighting about what's right and what's wrong. And if it was written better, written more clearly, there wouldn't be interpretations, and everyone could get along because they'd be like, well, this means this, end of story. That's how I like I don't need all of my films to spoon feed me everything, to hold my hand and, just give it to me really simply. I definitely want to think. I mean, Interstellar was one of the coolest movies I ever saw in my life. And I sat there and I thought about that movie for hours after it. So I definitely am not opposed to having my mind opened up to new thoughts and possibilities and trying to try to understand what the artist was saying. But when it gets too overboard, a lot of people want to call this film pretentious. And I get that. I mean, I totally understand it. But I think that the performances from everyone are so good. I think the visuals are really cool. I think that the message is great. I think that, humans are destroying the planet. And that is what's happening, and it's sad, and it sucks. And I think that someone as smart as Aronofsky is frustrated, and as a filmmaker, this is his way to express his frustration with it. And I don't know if it's a warning or a doomsday prophecy, like there's nothing we can do about it, we're just going to be wiped out and it's going to be all started over again, like it is in the film. It's just a cycle. We're wiped out and then we come back and we're wiped out, off of Mother Earth's love. That's what he's harnessing and puts back. Like, he grabs her heart. Now, why she's a different chick, I'm not sure. As I said, there's plenty of other things that you could get into. But, wars are started in the house, and people are getting locked away, like in all of the, horrible wars we've had, and people are doing terrible. And then, obviously, the baby is Jesus, and they literally eat the body of Christ. They rip him apart, and they're eating like they do in, communion, I think. I don't know what the hell that thing's called. Not a Catholic. Anyway, so those are my thoughts on the movie. If you've seen the movie, I would hope you would not have watched this if you haven't, or if you're just kind of curious on what the fuck this is happening. Those are my thoughts on it, and that's my interpretation of it. I think it's a very well-made film. I think it's going to divide people heavily. But that's a good thing. This is the kind of film that you kind of want to go see. You want to see something different. As much as I enjoy the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff like that, it's like watching a Thor movie, a Captain America movie, an Iron Man movie, an Ant-Man movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. The jokes are fun and this and that, but it's basically the same film every single time. You don't go to see if Captain America is going to win. He's going to. You just go there to have fun and see how he wins, and see what jokes they came up with and what new action sequences they could come up with. So this movie definitely turns you on your head. You have no idea what to expect next, and it's wholly original in the sense that I've never seen anything like it. Maybe there's something out there like it. I know people are comparing it to like Rosemary's Baby or something. This is way better than Rosemary's Baby, in my personal opinion, because I don't like that movie at all. Say whatever you want. I don't give a fuck. That movie boring. I've tried it 3 different times at 3 different stages in my life. It ain't for me. Anyway, that being said, I enjoyed the film. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was a masterpiece by any means, but I fully enjoyed myself, and Jennifer Lawrence is gorgeous, and she's wonderful in this movie, and so is everybody else. It was really cool to see Gleason and the other chick, fucking Kristen Wiig, I think. So, anyway, if you saw it, definitely leave some spoilers on the headings, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. All right, bye.